Hello, my dear students. How are you all? Hope everything is great at home. Now, I'm here with you with a new lesson from Supplementary Reader, that is the Selfish Giant, Chapter 3. Chapter 3 from the Supplementary Reader of Class 8. Today, in this lesson, we will learn about and we will know this is a story about a giant. Giant means very big person. Okay, giant means very big. So who is very selfish? Who is very selfish? So we will see that this selfish giant, he had a very beautiful garden, and in that garden children love to play in it. And the giant, who was very selfish, he did, he built a high wall around his lovely garden. Then the children did not enter the garden thereafter, after what building a high wall. So nor not only the children, but the spring and summer also didn't enter in his garden. So all these things, we will see these 3 points that I have read out for you just now. We will see only these things in the first part of this lesson. There are 3 parts. We will have the 3 videos. Okay, in first video I will be discussing about the first part. Okay, so in the previous class I told you that you just read the lesson 3 so that it will be very useful, it will be good to understand you whenever when I am going to explain. I hope you all have already gone through it. It's great if you have done. So the story, it goes like this. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, means the children's, as every afternoon, as the children, they were coming from the school, they used to go and play in the giant's garden. Where they go to play? In the giant's garden. Then the giant's garden, he had a very lovely and a very large garden, lovely and a very large garden with soft green grass, with very soft green grass. And here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. So the birds there sat on the trees, and these birds sang very so sweetly that the children, sometimes they used to stop playing to listen to them. They stopped playing to listen to the song of these sweet and lovely birds who sang by sitting on the trees. How happy we are, the some of the children, they said to each other, the children, they said to each other that how happy they are. Why they are saying this? So because they can play in the garden there, they enjoy playing there, so they love to play in the garden and love to see the beautiful flowers, lovely birds, everything they liked in the garden. So that's why they say to each other that they are very happy. One day the giant, he came back. He was not there at home. He came back. Where he had gone? He had been to visit his friends. He had gone to visit his friends. He had been to visit. So that's why he was not there at home. Now he returned. He visited one of the Cornish ogre. Cornish ogre means just like the giant has friends. He also You can see the in in just below of your book you will find this meaning of this Cornish ogre. So what does it mean? You see, a giant of Cornwall is said in UK. And ogre means what? In legends and fairy stories, a cruel giant that is called the ogre. Very cruel giant who eats. It is written here who eats people. And they are very much a frightening person. Gruff means rough. Okay, so he had been to visit his friends the Cornish ogre and stay with him for 7 years. 7 years he stayed with him, and when he arrived and he found there, he saw the children playing in the garden, in his garden. So he became angry and he asked what the children are doing there. He cried, no, very gruff voice, gruff. I said that very in a rough voice, and the children they run away. Then he said, "My garden is my own garden." He said, the garden, the giant, no, the selfish giant. He said, "My garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that." He said, and he said, "I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." So no, he said that yes, no one should allow there. Okay, he only will play in his garden. Nobody else will play in his garden. So what he did, he built a high wall around, all around it, all around his garden. All around his garden, he built a high wall and put up a notice board there. After building the wall, high wall, he put up a notice board. In the notice board, what he has written: trespassers will be persecuted. So trespassers will be persecuted means no one should be allowed, no, who will pass this or his garden. No, these people should not allow in his garden. So he was very selfish giant. He was very selfish giant, and he did not want anyone to enter in his garden. So he has put up this notice board there on the wall. Now the poor children had now nowhere to play. Now they tried to play on the road, but on the road was very dusty and full of hard stones were there. Then how to play there? And they did not like it also. And they used to wander. No, they were wandering, so thinking where they will get a better place to play. So they wander around the high walls. Sometimes they can see. Then when their lessons over, they usually talk how happy they were inside the garden, how happy they were inside the garden, and they were talking to each other. They were talking to each other. They said how happy they were before when they were playing in the giant's garden. Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant it was still winter. Everywhere when spring came, spring means it is seasons when flowers it bloom. So when the spring seasons came, all over the country, everywhere, were little blossoms and little birds also. They can see the flowers blooming and the birds also. many small birds also they could see in spring, but only in the garden of this selfish giant, only in the garden of this selfish giant he could not see. And it was still winter, it was still winter in his garden. The birds did not care to sing, the birds also did not like to sing in his garden, as there were no children. Because why the birds they did not like? Because no children were in his garden, so that's why they did not like. So trespassers, I told you that those who enter somebody's land without his or her permission, mm, persecuted, means tried in a court of law, here punished. So they are like trespassers. If somebody allow someone's properties, so they are called the trespassers, and they should not allow to enter in their garden or in their property. As there were no children and the trees forgot to blossom, once a beautiful flower put its head out from the grass. One small flowers, what he did, this small flower, he put its head out of the grass, from the grass. Then he saw that and noticed the boat that he had put up on the wall, and it was so sorry for the children. He was so sorry for the children after looking at the boat, and went off to sleep again. And what he did, he that it slipped back into the ground, and again it gone into the ground and went off to sleep. He was that plant was sleeping there. The only people who were pleased there, the only people, people here, it doesn't mean that the human beings, okay? People here, it's given in these legends are snow and the frost. Snow and the frost. We can see this in winter, right? This snow and the frost in the morning. Sometimes in where snow falls, there we can see almost throughout the day. But in our place, I can say that usually it comes in the night and in the morning mostly. So only these people were there, and they were very happy there in his garden, in the giant's garden. Spring has forgotten this garden. Spring has forgotten the garden, okay? Now they cried, so we will live here all the year round. The snow covered up the grass. So these two were saying that we will live here in his garden throughout or around the year, and they will cover the grass, they would cover up the trees. It looked like a silver color, the snow covered up the grass with her great white cloak is just like one covering a lengthy cloth which can be covered, which is used to covered. So, and the frost painted all the trees silver, and the frost it painted and make the trees silvers, make the trees silver. Then these two, snow and the frost, were there in the giant's garden, and they invited whom? The north wind to stay with them. North wind, from the north wind, this wind they have invited, and he was wrapped in force. He was coming with sound, making sounds. He roared all day about the garden and blew the chimney spots down. There in his garden, that the roars, the sound, it comes of the winds, and this is a delightful spot, he said, and we must ask hell also to visit. Now they became three, and they were discussing to each other that they should also called the hell. Hell means like the stone, no, when it falls from the cloud, like we say hailstorm. When it comes, sometimes it falls without rain also, and mostly it falls when there is raining. So they invited the whom they invited the this hail, and the hail it came, and every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof. He was falling on the roof, and it make a very uh, uh, disturbing sound, he rattle, he makes sounds there on the roof of the castle of the giant's house and till he broke most of the slats, and he broke most of the slat of the roof, and then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. Then he was dressed in grey, and his breath was like ice, his breath like it was very cold. Okay. I cannot understand, the giant said. I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming, said the giant. Okay. As he sat at the window and he was looking at his cold white garden, the garden became very white and it became very what? Cold also. He was looking and he was thinking that why this time or this year the spring is so late in coming. Then he also said, he had hoped that there will be a change in the weather. But the spring never came in his garden, nor even the summer also. Only what? The winter was there. The autumn gave golden fruits to every garden, to every other garden. The autumn season gave the golden fruits, but the giant's garden, what it happened? It gave none. The giant's garden give nothing. Why it is so? He is too selfish. He said, he is too selfish. That's why. So it was always winter there. It was always winter there because he was too selfish, and the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow, they were danced about through the trees. They were dancing in his garden. The hail, the north wind, the frost and the snow, they were dancing in the summer, the spring did not like to visit in his garden because he was too selfish. One morning the giant was lying awake in bed when he heard some lovely music. He heard a lovely music, and it sounded so sweet to his ears that he thought that it might be, it must be the king's musicians who is singing outside his window. But it was what? Not really the king's musician. It was a small or a little linnet bird. Linnet means a type of bird, and that bird is singing outside his window. But he thought it was so long since he had heard a bird singing, because no birds, no summer, no children, no spring like to visit in his garden. So that's why it was a long time that had heard he had heard a bird singing in his garden, so that it seemed to him to be the most beautiful music in the world. For him, this bird singing to be the most beautiful singing in the music in the world. Then the hail stopped. As soon as he thought that this is the most beautiful music for him in the world, then the hail stopped dancing over his head. The north wind stopped roaring, and the delicious perfume came to him. What? Through the open casement, just like we can say the window, the open window. Then he now believed the spring has come at last. He said, the spring has come at last. When the hail stopped, when the north wind stopped, and he could get a delicious perfumes, then he said that at last what it came, the spring has come. And he jumped out from his bed and looked out what how the spring it would be there, or what it was, really. So he could jump out of the bed and look outside. So in this part, this much only, the first part of this lesson, we will see the second part in the next class. Today this much only. Thank you very much. Take a very good care of your health. Stay at home.